everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep into some serious self-love today.
I am. This is going to be good.
You already know we love a good deep dive, and today we are taking on Meggan Roxanne's latest TED New W, How to Stop Breaking Your Own Heart. You might know her from Instagram.
Oh, yeah. The good quote, right. Those are fantastic.
Exactly. But this book, oh man, it goes so much deeper than even those spot-on quotes. Roxanne lays it all out there, no filter, about overcoming childhood stuff, dealing with people-pleasing, and building those all-important boundaries.
And she doesn't just talk the talk. She really takes us back to the beginning, like way back to her 4-year-old self.
Oh no, 4 years old, what happened?
Imagine this. Little Meggan's so excited to tell her grandfather about her first week of school.
Oh, that's adorable.
Right. But get this, when she's done, he just looks at her and says, "I don't love you."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, talk about shaping your whole view of love right from the start.
Wow, that is rough. It really makes you think about all those messages we pick up early on, especially from family, that end up influencing how we see ourselves and our relationships, doesn't it?
It does. But here's the thing. It's not all doom and gloom. The interesting part is that Roxanne's mom was like the polar opposite. Single parent raising Roxanne with so much love and stability.
That's amazing, especially considering her own background.
Right, because she came from a really difficult, abusive home herself. But she chose a different path, a better way to be. It's like Roxanne says, our past doesn't have to define us or dictate how we treat others or raise our own children.
So true. It makes you wonder, though, what were those unspoken rules in our own families, the things we picked up just by observing?
Absolutely. And for Roxanne, she talks about inheriting this like superpower, but with a twist.
Oh, like what?
It was this intense need to people please. Like she always had to be good, always helpful, even if it meant putting her own needs on the back burner.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Right. She tells this funny story about getting Michael Jackson tickets for good behavior.
No way. Seriously?
Yeah, for real. It's hilarious. But it highlights a really important point. Think about how many of us were raised on that whole be good, get rewards thing. It's not bad in itself, but it can set us up to constantly seek validation from outside instead of listening to our own inner compass.
Oh, 100%. It's like that need for a gold star never really goes away, does it?
Yep. And for Roxanne, she's really open about how that morphed into a real struggle with perfectionism. And there's a big difference between wanting to learn and grow and feeling like you're constantly failing to meet some impossible standard.
Oof, that hits home. Have you ever felt that pressure, like you're never quite enough?
And that's where things take a turn in the book. We've all had those what was I thinking moments.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But Roxanne's university experience, it's like a cautionary tale on a whole other level. She thought she had it all figured out, following the path that everyone expected of her, and then bam, totally miserable. But that's when she really started questioning everything.
So many people can relate to that, right? Feeling like you have to fit into this mold that someone else created.
Exactly.
And then realizing, wait a minute, I get to choose my own path.
Yes.
And for Roxanne, the real turning point was telling her mom she wanted to quit school. I love how her mom responded to that. So good.
Right. It's never too late to choose your own path.
Yes. Like a total permission slip to put your own happiness first.
Exactly. Which is so easy to lose sight of when you're busy trying to please everyone else.
Ah, totally. And that fear of the unknown, that can be paralyzing. But Roxanne really nails it when she talks about how sometimes the scariest leaps, they lead to the biggest growth.
They do. 100%.
But before we all go jumping off metaphorical cliffs.
Right, good point.
Roxanne doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. She takes us right into the heart of loss and trauma.
And she's so open and honest about it. The way she describes losing her friend Kyle to suicide in high school, it's just heartbreaking.
It really is.
But you know what really struck me? How she talks about the importance of having a good support system, that we don't have to go through those things alone.
Yes, it's like she's reminding us that asking for help is actually a sign of strength, not weakness.
Absolutely.
And it's important to have those people and those safe spaces to process our pain. And speaking of processing pain, the book also delves into Roxanne's most difficult experience with loss, her mother's death from cancer.
Oh, that whole section is just so raw and powerful.
Yeah.
You can feel the depth of her grief, but also this incredible love for her mom. It's really a beautiful tribute to their bond, even in the face of death.
It's interesting, though, how Roxanne found solace in solitude during that time. And I don't mean loneliness, but that deliberate choice to be alone in order to heal.
Yes. It's something her mom practiced too, right?
Exactly, those non-negotiable moments of solitude to recharge and reconnect with yourself.
It's so important. And it's something that I think a lot of us struggle with, especially now, when we're constantly bombarded with information and everyone expects us to be available 24/7.
It's true, but that solitude, that's where the real healing happens, wouldn't you say?
100%. It's like hitting the reset button on your soul.
Yeah.
But, even after experiencing such profound loss, Roxanne still struggled with asking for help.
It's so common, though. Why do we do that to ourselves?
Right. It's like we think we have to be strong and self-sufficient all the time.
Yeah.
Especially if we're used to being the helper, the one who takes care of everyone else.
Absolutely. So true.
But Roxanne, she challenges that whole belief system. She talks about how asking for help, especially after we've been through something traumatic, it takes a lot of courage. It's actually a sign of incredible strength.
Totally. It's like saying, hey, I'm going through something difficult and I need support, which is not easy to do.
Not at all.
So did she end up going to therapy?
She did, which she admits was a total game changer, although she almost quit after the first session.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, she was so resistant to the whole process at first.
I can see that.
But, it's a good reminder that healing isn't always linear. You're going to have setbacks, you're going to have moments of doubt. But the important thing is to just keep showing up for yourself.
So true. And speaking of showing up, this is where I absolutely love Roxanne's storytelling. Enter the fisherwoman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The fisherwoman. This is such a good part.
Right. So picture this. Roxanne is in St. Lucia feeling totally lost and unsure about this whole therapy thing. And she meets this woman on the beach, this no-nonsense fisherwoman who just lays down some serious truth bombs.
Talk about a divine intervention.
Right?
Seriously. It's like the universe's way of saying, hey, I see you, and you are stronger than you think.
Exactly. And you know what? Roxanne listens. She goes back to therapy. She sticks with it.
Right.
And that's when the real transformation begins. It's like sometimes we all just need that little nudge, that voice of tough love to get us back on track. And once she commits to healing, she dives into another biggie, relationships and boundaries.
Oh, yeah. She gets real, like really real, about her own experiences with toxic relationships.
Which is so refreshing coming from someone who advocates for self-love.
I know, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't pretend to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
She admits to making the same mistakes that we all do.
Which makes her message even more powerful. Like, none of us are immune to falling into those traps, but we can learn and grow from those experiences.
Exactly.
And she uses this vivid example of gaining weight in a toxic relationship.
Oh, wow.
It's like you can physically see the impact of those unhealthy dynamics, how our bodies absorb all that stress and unhappiness.
It's a powerful reminder that our emotional well-being and our physical health, they're totally connected. And if we don't value ourselves, if we don't set healthy boundaries, we're more likely to tolerate behavior that diminishes us.
And you think, okay, she's covered it all, right? Then Roxanne throws us another curveball. Forgiveness. And it's not just any forgiveness, it's her grandfather. Talk about a tough one, right?
Yeah, wow. Especially after everything we learned about him earlier in the book.
Right. Years of absence, some pretty damaging behavior, and then out of the blue, he needs help. I don't know about you, but I'd be like, how do I even wrap my head around this?
It's the million-dollar question that hangs over this whole section, isn't it? Are some things just unforgivable? And the thing is, Roxanne doesn't pretend to have all the answers.
Which is kind of refreshing, to be honest.
Totally. Because there are no easy answers, right?
Absolutely. It's easy to say, just walk away, cut them off. But with family, it's so much more complicated.
It brings up all these questions about what forgiveness really means. Are we doing it for them or for ourselves?
That's the heart of it, right? Roxanne talks about how her own mom handled her dad's hurtful actions, setting firm boundaries, not condoning his past, but finding a way to have a different kind of relationship with him later in life.
It's a really powerful example of how we can choose how we want to move forward without necessarily excusing or forgetting past hurts.
Exactly. And sometimes the most forgiving thing we can do for ourselves is to walk away. It's about deciding what we need to move forward without carrying that burden of anger or resentment.
100%. And, Roxanne doesn't shy away from admitting that it's a process. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. But her willingness to explore these complex emotions, it gives us permission to do the same in our own lives.
Absolutely. Okay, get ready for a total shift, though. Towards the end of the book, Roxanne tells this almost funny story about being stuck in traffic in an Uber and suddenly realizing she hasn't even noticed the sky in ages.
Oh, I love that part.
Right. It's this really poignant moment where she realizes how disconnected she's become from those simple joys in life.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life and forget to appreciate those little things.
Totally. Like, we convince ourselves we're being productive, important even.
But then we miss out on those moments that actually make life worth living.
100%. And you know what Roxanne calls it? Aligning attention with intention.
Oh yeah, that's so good.
I love that too. And it's actually something her therapist gave her as an assignment. It's about checking in with ourselves and asking, is this really where I want to be focusing my energy right now?
It's so simple, but so powerful when you actually start doing it.
Right. It reminds me of that saying, wherever you are, be all there. And that's what Roxanne started doing. She changed her entire morning routine based on this idea. Just small tweaks, but they made a huge difference in how she experienced her day.
It's a great reminder that we don't need to make these huge, sweeping changes to make a difference in our lives. Sometimes those small shifts in perspective can be just as powerful.
So true. And speaking of perspective, one of the things that really resonated with me in this book was this idea of embracing our own timeline.
Oh, yes. That is so important.
Especially in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with images of other people's seemingly perfect lives on social media.
Right, and it makes it feel like we should all be hitting these milestones by a certain age, like there's some magical timeline for achieving happiness and success.
Exactly. But Roxanne blows that whole idea out of the water.
She does. Like there's no magic age for finding love or landing your dream job or whatever your definition of success looks like.
Right. She even introduces us to these amazing people, Millie, who finds love in her 80s, and Alan, who starts a whole new career after retirement. It's inspiring.
It really is. It's never too late to go after what you want.
Totally. And you know what? It all comes down to this. Defining success and happiness on our own terms, not by someone else's standards.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to Roxanne's final mic drop moment in the book, which, funnily enough, is inspired by the movie 8 Mile. Remember that?
I do.
It's all about owning our truth, our whole story, messy bits and all.
Yes. Because when we embrace our authentic selves, flaws and all, that's when we're truly free.
Absolutely. And when we can accept ourselves unconditionally, criticism loses its power because we're no longer seeking validation from the outside world.
It's like Roxanne is giving us permission to be our own biggest cheerleaders.
And that's the thing I love most about NAW, How to Stop Breaking Your Own Heart. It's real, it's raw, and it encourages us to show up as our authentic selves. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to hear from you. What resonated with you the most? What part of your story are you ready to own without apology? Let us know. And until next time, keep diving deep, everyone.